On a chilly winter night, under the soft glow of a hospital's neon sign, a small puppy curled up tightly against the cold pavement. His thin, shivering body barely provided him warmth, but he refused to leave. Night after night, he came back to the same spot, his large, sorrowful eyes fixed on the hospital doors as if waiting for someone. Passers-by noticed him, some pausing momentarily to pity his plight, but no one dared to approach. To many, he was just another stray dog lost in the bustling city streets. But this puppy wasn't lost. He had a purpose. Inside the hospital, Dr. Emily Carter worked tirelessly. She was a young and compassionate doctor, known for her dedication to her patients. But lately, her days were heavier than usual. Her father, a retired schoolteacher and her biggest inspiration, lay in the ICU battling a life-threatening illness. Despite her professional demeanor, Emily was overwhelmed with worry, her heart breaking a little more every day. One evening, as Emily left the hospital after an exhausting shift, she noticed the puppy. His frail body was trembling, his eyes filled with a silent plea. Emily hesitated, her heart tugging at the sight. But the weight of her own worries kept her from stopping. She hurried past him, brushing the encounter off as a fleeting moment. Yet, the image of the little dog haunted her. The next night, he was there again, and the night after that. Each time, his gaze followed her, as though he knew her. Emily couldn't ignore it anymore. She started to wonder, why was this puppy here? What was he waiting for? Little did she know, the answer would not only change her life, but also touch the hearts of everyone around her. This was the beginning of a story that would remind us all of the profound connections between humans and animals, and the kindness that can heal even the deepest wounds. The snow had started falling lightly one evening as Dr. Emily walked toward the hospital's exit, her breath forming soft clouds in the frosty air. The puppy was there again, curled into a tight ball near the door. But this time, something was different. His tiny whimpers reached her ears, weak and filled with pain. Emily's steps slowed, her heart catching in her chest. She crouched down cautiously, unsure if the pup would allow her near. When her hand reached out, the puppy didn't flinch. Instead, he lifted his weary eyes to hers, his frail body visibly trembling. Emily's practiced eyes noticed the signs immediately. He was malnourished and likely injured. She spotted a faint wound on his back leg, likely from a car or an accident, and his breathing seemed labored. "Hey, little guy," she murmured softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing out here all alone?" As she examined him, a hospital security guard approached. "That dog's been here for over a week," he remarked, shaking his head. "I've seen him sitting near the emergency room doors, just waiting. Poor thing's probably hoping someone comes back for him." Emily's heart sank. A week? In this bitter cold? The thought was unbearable. Someone must have abandoned him here, she thought. Her mind raced with questions. Who could do such a thing? Why would he keep returning to the hospital? But the puppy's condition left no room for hesitation. Emily carefully scooped him into her arms, his body limp against hers. For the first time in days, she saw a flicker of trust in his tired eyes. She decided she couldn't just leave him out here, not tonight, not ever. Carrying the little pup into the hospital's staff room, Emily called her colleague, Dr. Patel, a fellow animal lover. "We need to help him," she said urgently. Dr. Patel agreed, and together they began to clean his wounds and feed him. As the puppy nibbled on his first meal in days, his weak tail wagged ever so slightly. It was then Emily realized there was more to this dog than met the eye. Why had he chosen this hospital? Who was he waiting for? The questions lingered, drawing her deeper into his story and into a journey that would change everything. The following days were a whirlwind for Emily and the little puppy, whom she had started calling Buddy. Despite their best efforts, Buddy's condition didn't improve as quickly as Emily had hoped. His leg injury required delicate care, and his malnourished body struggled to recover. Emily spent every free moment she had by Buddy's side, coaxing him to eat, cleaning his wounds, and whispering reassurances into his floppy ears. But the challenges were mounting. One night, as Emily sat with Buddy in the hospital's staff room, she noticed he was wheezing, his tiny chest rising and falling with difficulty. Panic surged through her. This wasn't just about his leg or his starvation. Something deeper was wrong. Emily reached out to Dr. Patel, and after running a few tests, they discovered Buddy had a respiratory infection, likely from the cold nights he had spent outside. "This isn't good," Dr. Patel admitted, his brow furrowed with worry. "We'll need to treat this immediately, but it's going to be a rough road." Emily felt a lump form in her throat. She looked down at Buddy, who was curled into her lap, his big, trusting eyes staring up at her. "We'll get through this, Buddy," she whispered. "I promise." Treating Buddy became a part of Emily's daily routine. She administered antibiotics, kept him warm, and ensured he was hydrated. Despite his frailty, Buddy seemed to sense Emily's determination. Slowly, he started showing signs of improvement. His appetite returned bit by bit, and his tail wagged faintly whenever Emily walked into the room. As Buddy's health improved, so did his spirit. Emily began taking him on short walks around the hospital grounds, his limp gradually lessening with each step. Staff members and even patients started noticing the little dog who seemed to have found a home in Emily's heart. One evening, as they walked by the hospital entrance, Buddy stopped abruptly, his ears perking up. He stared at the emergency room doors, his tail wagging furiously for the first time. Emily followed his gaze, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. "What is it, Buddy?" she asked, kneeling beside him. But Buddy's focus didn't waver, and for a fleeting moment, Emily wondered if he was waiting for someone. The bond between Emily and Buddy deepened with each passing day. She had never considered herself an animal person before, but Buddy had changed something in her. He wasn't just a stray dog anymore. He was her companion, her responsibility. And in Buddy's eyes, she saw something she couldn't quite explain, a mix of gratitude, loyalty, and an unshakable determination. Despite the progress, there were still hurdles to overcome. Buddy's infection required constant monitoring, and the hospital administration began questioning Emily's decision to keep him on the premises. "You can't take care of a dog here forever," her supervisor warned. "It's not practical, Emily." But Emily refused to give up. She started looking into local shelters and rescues, hoping to find a permanent solution for Buddy. Each call she made was met with the same response: "We're full. We can't take him right now." The setbacks weighed heavily on Emily, but every time she considered giving up, Buddy would do something that reignited her determination, like nuzzling her hand when she was stressed or curling up at her feet as if to say, "I trust you." One night, after another long shift, Emily sat beside Buddy in the staff room, her hand resting on his soft fur. "I don't know how this is going to end," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'll fight for you, Buddy. You're not alone anymore." Little did she know, Buddy was about to reveal the reason he had chosen this hospital, a revelation that would change everything. It was a quiet Sunday evening when Buddy's secret finally came to light. Emily had just finished her shift and was sitting with Buddy on the hospital lawn. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of flowers from the nearby garden. Buddy, now noticeably stronger, was happily wagging his tail as Emily scratched behind his ears. Suddenly, Buddy perked up. His ears twitched, and his tail began wagging furiously. He bolted toward the hospital entrance, his limp barely noticeable now. Startled, Emily called out, "Buddy, wait." She quickly followed him, her heart racing. Buddy stopped at the emergency room doors, whining and pawing at the glass. Inside, Emily saw a young boy sitting in a wheelchair, his leg wrapped in a cast. The boy was pale, his face a mixture of exhaustion and sadness. Beside him stood a woman who appeared to be his mother, her eyes red and puffy as though she'd been crying. Before Emily could process what was happening, Buddy began barking, a high-pitched, excited bark as if he'd just found something he'd been searching for all along. The boy turned toward the sound, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Max?" he whispered, his voice trembling. The boy's mother looked up, confused, but the boy was already moving, pushing his wheelchair forward with a burst of energy. "Max, It's really you, he cried, tears streaming down his face. Emily froze, watching as Buddy leaped into the boy's lap, licking his face with unrestrained joy. The boy wrapped his arms around the dog, sobbing into his fur. I thought I'd lost you forever, he choked out. I'm so sorry, Max. I didn't mean to leave you behind. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as the pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. Buddy Max had been waiting outside the hospital for weeks, hoping to find this boy. The boy's mother, equally overwhelmed, knelt beside them. How is this possible? She murmured. We thought he was gone. Emily approached cautiously, her voice soft. Is Buddy Max your dog? She asked. The boy nodded, still clinging to Buddy. We were in a car accident, he explained, his voice shaky. Max was with us, but he got scared and ran away when the paramedics arrived. I thought I'd never see him again. Emily's heart broke as she listened. Buddy had been braving the cold nights, hunger, and injury just to reunite with the boy he loved. She looked at the dog, who now seemed like a completely different animal, his tail wagging, his eyes bright with happiness. The boy's mother turned to Emily, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you for taking care of him. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Emily smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks. He's the one who kept fighting to find you. I just helped him along the way. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still as the boy and his dog clung to each other, their bond unbroken despite everything they had endured. It was a scene of pure love, resilience, and hope, a reminder of the lengths one would go for the ones they love. Emily stepped back, her heart full. She knew she had done the right thing. Buddy, no, Max, was finally where he belonged. The days that followed were nothing short of magical. Buddy, now Max, was back in the arms of his family, and his transformation was remarkable. Gone was the weary, injured stray who had once lingered outside the hospital doors. Now, he was a spirited, happy dog, his tail constantly wagging as if he knew he was finally home. Emily watched from the sidelines as Max settled back into his life with the boy, whose name she learned was Liam. The boy's recovery seemed to speed up almost overnight. Every time Emily passed through the pediatric ward, she would find Liam sitting up in bed, laughing as Max gently nuzzled him or curled up by his side. The boy's mother often looked at Max with tears in her eyes, gratitude etched across her face. Emily couldn't help but reflect on how much she had grown through this experience. When Buddy had first appeared at the hospital, she'd been skeptical, even hesitant to get involved. But as the days turned into weeks, she realized that kindness and compassion could bridge even the widest gaps between species, between strangers, and even within oneself. The hospital staff, too, seemed changed by the whole ordeal. Max's story spread quickly, touching everyone who heard it. Nurses, doctors, and patients alike would pause to give him a scratch behind the ears or share a kind word. He had become a symbol of resilience and love, a reminder that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness could change lives. One evening, as Emily was finishing her shift, she saw Liam and his mother walking Max through the hospital garden. Liam was no longer in a wheelchair. He leaned on a pair of crutches, his face glowing with determination. Max walked dutifully beside him, occasionally glancing up as if to say, I've got you. Liam's mother approached Emily, her voice soft but full of emotion. We'll never forget what you did for us, she said. Max brought Liam back to life, but you were the one who brought Max back to us. Emily smiled, her heart swelling with warmth. I think Max brought us all something special, she replied. He reminded us of the power of love and loyalty and how far we're willing to go for the ones who mean the most to us. As Emily watched them walk away, the evening sun casting a golden glow over the garden, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. Max had found his way home, but in helping him, she had found something, too, a renewed belief in the power of kindness and the beauty of second chances. As the weeks passed, the bond between Max and Liam only deepened. Max wasn't just a dog anymore. He was a symbol of resilience and unconditional love. Every day, he reminded everyone who met him that no act of kindness, no matter how small, goes unnoticed. He had given Liam the strength to fight for his life, and in return, Liam had given Max a forever home, a home filled with warmth, laughter, and the promise of never being alone again. Emily's heart swelled with joy every time she saw them together. She knew that Max had touched more than just the lives of Liam and his family. He had touched the heart of the entire hospital. His story had become a living testament to the power of second chances and the healing that comes from showing love, whether it's to a child, a dog, or even a stranger in need. And as she reflected on her own journey with Max, Emily realized the profound truth that sometimes the greatest gifts are the ones we least expect. Love, hope, and a simple act of kindness could change the world in ways that words could never fully describe. So, as you watch this story unfold, I encourage you to remember Max and Liam. Remember that no matter how tough life gets, there's always hope. There's always room for kindness, for love, and for second chances. We all have the power to make the world a better place, one small act at a time. If Max's journey touched your heart, share this story with someone you care about. Leave a comment below and tell us how you've seen kindness transform lives. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories that will inspire and remind you of the beauty in the world. Together, let's spread love, kindness, and the message that everyone, whether human or animal, deserves a second chance.